Hello, my name is Abigail Ramirez. I'm a student majoring in political science and sustainability studies here at Roosevelt. I'm also currently working with Professor Bryson as a sustainability department associate. And this semester I decided to try and study our use waste and calculate how much we can reduce it. First, let's take a look at our use current waste system. I'm sure you are all familiar with these signs that are found above each waste disposal container on campus. We have 4 types of collection here on campus: trash, which includes plastics number 3 through 7, tissues, wax-lined containers, and other non-recyclable or non-compostable materials. Then we have recycling. This includes plastic number 1 and 2, cans, foil, and glass bottles. Next we have paper, which is pretty self-explanatory. It includes paper and cardboard. And finally, my personal favorite, compost. This includes food scraps, compostable containers, napkins, tea bags, and coffee grounds. Our goal is to divert as much waste as we can from trash to recycling, paper, and compost, as well as ensure that what we put in each collection is free from contamination so that it can be efficiently managed and disposed of. Simply put, we want to put as much as we can primarily into the compost bins, then into paper and recycling. But we need to do it properly so that those materials can actually be composted and recycled. So we developed a research plan, the AUD Building Waste Characterization Study, with a focus on composting as a method of waste diversion here at RU. As an institution grounded in sustainability, Roosevelt University is always in pursuit of developing a more environmentally conscious community that strives to reduce its ecological footprint. This study focuses on reducing the university's waste stream by characterizing it, analyzing it, and bringing awareness to waste diversion by composting. In previous studies, the institution has evaluated its waste stream by conducting waste audits each semester. These audits have provided integral information. An audit performed during the spring 2019 semester by the Sustainable University class, including myself, brought important attention to how the university utilizes its composting bins. The audit found that Roosevelt's waste stream could be significantly reduced if its students and faculty efficiently and effectively used compost bins on campus. Based on this information, the study was created to provide a detailed analysis of the university's general waste stream and composting habits. So here's the plan. We want to perform weekly waste audits. The study will involve a weekly waste audit of 2 participating auditorium building floors, the 7th floor and the 9th. These floors were chosen based on the housekeeping staff's evaluation of high traffic areas. Each floor will have 3 separate audits conducted at each waste collection area. The first collection area is in the eastern portion of the floor, at the main elevators. The second is in a centralized area of the floor, near the stairwells facing IW Wells Drive, and the third on the western side of the floor near the Wabash Building elevators. But what does a waste audit look like? Some of you might have never even heard of what a waste audit is, so I just want to give a simple breakdown of it. Basically, what a waste audit does is it takes all of the collections, whether it's trash, recycling, paper, or compost. It breaks them each down individually, and it looks at what materials are specifically found in that, what was put into it. So, for example, here you can see we have a lineup of trash bags and recycling bags. What we ended up doing is we opened up one of those trash bags, we started to go through it, and we look at specific things like what number the plastic is that is found in that trash bag. So you can see on this, it's a plastic bottle, it's number 1 plastic, and so we know that that would then go into recycling if it was properly disposed of. We take all of those plastic bottles or that specific material, we put it into a bucket, we weigh it, and we document that data. And then what we end up with is quite a separated amount of materials based on how they're specifically supposed to be looked at. And these are actually photos from the spring 2019 waste audit. And here we can actually see in the bottom right-hand corner that compost pile is huge, and then it evolves moreover towards the other specific areas. But just for an analysis, I'll let you know that bottom right-hand corner, all that big pile of all of those dining center plates, all of that is compostable. That's just a cool look at how I might view it from looking at a photo of a waste audit. But it can be a little bit easier to look at it by how we separate the data. And so this is just a simple evaluation of what our spreadsheets look like. This is for the auditorium 7th floor waste audit, but it gives you a simple breakdown. What we end up doing is we measure the starting weight for each area based on the specific collection bin. Then we also calculate, based on our separation, what that result should look like. And then for each specific breakdown that we do of those categories, I just show it here. It displays, we separate it by if it's metal, if it's glass, the number of plastic that it is, paper, biodegradable waste, and even e-waste. And we also put all of that data into that. But let's look at what the data actually looked like. Now, unfortunately, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, we weren't able to collect as much data as we had expected to. But fortunately, we were lucky enough to get some preliminary data before we had to go on to online learning. But here's the data that we have from what we did get. And this just shows exactly how we broke it down. We look at the resulting total, the starting total. And this is the data that now we're going to actually look at in a graph that's a little bit more helpful. It helps us break it down. So just to let you know, the paper is blue. Recycling is red, the yellow is compost, and the red is trash. Now here's an important thing. For myself looking at this data, an important thing that we have to know is that RU is actually doing fantastic based on this waste audit with how it disposes of its paper. So that's a good, very good sign. I'm quite proud of RU. When I was doing the audit, I just saw how fantastic they did at properly disposing of the paper, so that's a good sign. Yay for RU. Another thing that's interesting that catches my eye is that trash and compost can significantly be changed. And why is this important? Because what compost is it completely diverts the trash from the waste stream, and it makes it, it takes it and makes it into usable material. It takes it and makes it into compost, which can then be used by farmers to go onto the soil and repair soil, and then that goes into, what we end up doing is just by composting is we take the compost completely out of the waste stream and make it into a usable material. And so it's really important to grow that compost to what we can. And so a big sign from here is that compost and trash can significantly be changed. And just to give you a little bit better view, I broke it down by removing the paper so that we could see a little bit more in depth on what those totals are. But we could significantly increase our amount of compost. Currently, with a starting total of compost, we're looking at somewhere of around half a pound of compost or less. And then we could bring it a little bit above 2 pounds, so it could drastically be improved upon. And by influencing and increasing the amount of compost, we also decrease the amount of trash. So that is something that we can significantly improve upon. Now, our data collection wasn't simply just raw numbers, also included qualitative data. And I have a few photos here to show you. On our left-hand side, we have a wax-lined paper cup that actually, unfortunately, cannot be recycled. So when it went into the paper bin, it shouldn't have been there. It shouldn't have gone into recycling because it's not recyclable. And an important factor of this, by looking at this qualitative data, I remember when I was doing this waste audit, I immediately took a picture of it because I realized we create these bins so that it makes it difficult for people to avoid contamination, and I just thought this was an interesting photo to take, that people, instead of realizing that perhaps the container that they were trying to put, the material that they were trying to put into that container shouldn't have gone in there. Instead, they just try to jam it. And so it's trying to change habits like these, or trying to figure out how do we make people aware that these materials shouldn't belong in that bin, and then moving it over into the proper bin that it should go in. The center photo here is actually of what is a perfect example of contamination. What's happened is we have some coffee containers that normally are recyclable because they are glass. However, they do need to be properly rinsed out and emptied out. They can't contain that coffee in there because that leads to contamination, and then it won't be recycled. Actually, if this goes into recycling and if it is in a bin, it might mean that the entire rest of the recycling might not be recycled, even though it should be, because it does have that contamination. So it's an important reminder, and that is something that we need to market across the board to faculty, to students, to everybody who participates here at RU, so that we can increase our ability to recycle by decreasing contamination. And then the final photo on the side over here is just of a large bucket full of paper. Two things that this tells me. First, perhaps if we have this much extra supplies of paper, we need to consider in our daily lives in our offices printing only what you need. However, a good sign is that we do have no contamination in the paper bin, and so that is a healthy sign that we're trying to do our best with what we do have. So that's important information that we get from qualitative data. So where do we go in the future? Well, the future is once COVID-19 passes, and hopefully we can resume getting back to normal, getting back into classes, we want to get back to the weekly waste audits. This very simple preliminary data that we have gained has given us so much information on how we might market to students, how we might market to faculty. And so we want to, in the future, develop a marketing campaign based on the data we collect to make students and faculty aware of their habits and how they can improve and contribute to making a more sustainable RU. Thank you very much.